Hey, are you a millennial? Do you know any millennials? I have two kids, and they are millennials, and and so it's an important topic to me to kind of help with millennials because there's something strange going on. We are seeing so much more anxiety experienced with millennials than any other generation. So I want to talk a little bit today about this anxiety that we're seeing in so many millennials and more importantly, right, what we can do about it. All right, check it out. Yoga Psych. Ancient answers for your current problems. Hi, I'm Brett, your favorite shrink, and welcome. Welcome back to Yoga Psych. This is our new old psychology. This is the ancient psychology of Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism. It's the ancient arts of yogic practice. And today what we're going to talk about is apply this ancient wisdom to a modern era, to our millennials. Because today I want to talk about millennials and anxiety. It is epidemic. It is out of control. When I grew up as a young 20-year-old, 18-year-old, I had tons of anxiety. I had anxiety out the yin. I had OCD. I had GAD, generalized anxiety disorder. I had all kinds of anxiety, social anxiety. But I was a freak. I was a freak for my day because it didn't seem like anybody else had anxiety. It didn't seem like anybody else understood anxiety. But now, as a therapist and as a dad and as a parent, I am talking to my kids, I'm talking to their friends, I'm talking to my nieces. Everybody, so many of millennials these days have anxiety. My wife is a professor at a university. So many of her students are paralyzed. They're not able to go to class at times. They actually call out. Other times they're not able to finish assignments because their anxiety grips them and grabs them so much. We see a lot of procrastination and just a really kind of a stopping, a frozen of life that's happening with millennials in general. Not just a few, a handful, but the majority. That's a problem. That is a huge problem. And I want to call it out, one, because I want to make sure that you know you're not the only one. I want to make sure that you understand that this is a generational problem. And two, I want to call it out because I want to start a dialogue. I want to start a conversation where we can begin to talk about this openly and hopefully begin to understand it more clearly. Well, I want to help by maybe understanding millennials a little bit better, but also by understanding anxiety a little bit better. So I want to start off by talking about what are emotions in general, because it is my belief that modern psychology is woefully inadequate at describing what emotions are. We have names: love, joy, hurt, shame, guilt, frustration, disappointment. We have tons of names for our feelings, but that doesn't tell us what our feelings are. So my first question to you, and it may sound a little bit general, a little bit obvious, but it really isn't. What are emotions? What are feelings? Don't tell me emotions are feelings. I know that. What are feelings? What are emotions? What are they made of? Again, once you start thinking about it, you start struggling for an answer and you begin to understand there is not a good answer because in modern psychology, we don't understand it. Here's a quick and easy way to understand emotions. Emotions are signals from your limbic system, the core emotional part of your brain, through your brainstem and into your spinal cord, and then out to your body, right? That's the quick, easy biological definition. What does that mean in terms of our daily lives, in terms of understanding emotions? They are electrical signals. In other words, emotions are energy. And the way I like to say it is that emotions are energy in motion. because how that energy is moving through our body is super important. It's critical. And understanding the energy in your body in general as emotions is going to be critical as well. So anger, hurt, fear, what are all of those different names? Well, they're descriptions. They're labels that we put on different energy frequencies. See, I can think of colors. Colors are a great example. Red, green, blue. We can kind of put them up here for a second. What is the difference between red, green, and blue? Well, the difference in those different colors is that they emit different energies or frequencies. And that frequency is seen by our eye and then recognized as different colors. Well, your emotions are exactly the same thing. They are different energy frequencies. Anger puts out a certain frequency, a certain energy to it. Sadness puts out a different energy, completely different energy. Love puts out a different energy as well. Each emotion we have is different from the other, and we can feel them different from the other because they are a different energy frequency. And if we could start to understand the frequencies and how the frequencies work, we could start understanding our emotions. So let's jump now to talking about millennials, because I think once we understand what's happening with energy and frequencies, we will start understanding what's happening with you, my friends, the millennials. Well, I want you to conceptualize in your mind, there is an energy meter in your nervous system. And the energy meter goes from 0 to 10. Now, one of the things that's a key difference between my generation and your generation, the millennial generation, is the amount of energy that is going through your nervous system. See, in my day, what would happen is I would wait all week to see the new Batman, which to you is the old Batman, right? And what we would do is we'd sit down, we'd watch about maybe 15 minutes of it, and it would start building and start building and start building. And it would be right at that climax point of just super excited energy in the nervous system building up. And then there's a commercial. And then we'd sit and we'd watch the commercial. And they would time the commercials, of course, right? They time the commercials right when that kind of max energy was there. And then they'd break to a commercial. Then the commercial would, end, and like 3 minutes later, it wasn't just like, it lasts forever. The commercial would end, show would come back on, and there we are, back in that exciting point. But my nervous system isn't quite there again. So I'm kind of getting back into the show again, and it's exciting, yes! And then another commercial break. Then what would happen is that at the end of the show, which was only a half hour, it was the end. And I'd have to wait another week, sometimes more, till the show came back again. Well, what happens with you? That's not how millennials watch TV, right? That is not how you guys watch TV. No. You guys find your favorite show, and then you binge watch it. And so no commercials. No, commercials, what are those things? So your energy is just like building. And then you're like, oh, that was awesome. Let's do that again. And then you watch another show and another episode, and you just build energy, and your nervous system is always staying aroused. Now, that's not only true for TV, watching shows, it's true for everything, right? Your video games, everything about your life is super high stimulating. And what that does is it keeps your nervous system in high levels of arousal. Now, for the most part, those high levels of arousal are fun, right? We kind of get addicted to it. We kind of like it. It's kind of cool. But here's what happens. Where do you think on this graph does anxiety kick in? Well, it usually kicks in when your nervous system, if we're going to go from a scale from 0 to 10, is like at a 7. An 8, a 9, a 10. This is when we start to feel anxiety. So what's happening with millennials is our nervous system is staying elevated longer and higher. And so it's at a 6 or 7, right on the brink of anxiety, but it doesn't feel like anxiety. It feels like excitement, feels like fun. And then something will happen and boom, we're in an anxiety attack. So you're so much more susceptible to anxiety than other generations, mainly because of that fact that your time, your place in the world is so much more stimulating than mine was. Second thing that happens that creates anxiety in our nervous system is that not only anxiety is high energy, because there's a lot of other high energy emotions that we don't think of as anxious. Excitement, love, those are high energy emotions that are kind of fun and kind of cool, but they don't feel anxious necessarily, unless you're afraid of relationships. But assuming you're not, it doesn't necessarily produce anxiety. So the other factor that's really important in understanding your emotions and understanding how energy is working in you is, remember that definition we talked about? Emotions are energy in motion. So the key part of that second feature is that when our emotions are energy, right? Emotions are energy. When our emotion energy is flowing out of us, it always feels good. Again, love, joy, happiness, excitement, peace, all of those feelings of energy flowing through our body in those moments feel like the energy is flowing somewhere. Hurt, sorrow, fear, anger, disappointment, anxiety, all of that energy feels like, you can feel it viscerally in your body, as if it's collapsing. The energy is collapsing inward. So really, to understand the difference between good feelings and bad feelings, it's simply the difference between flow and collapse. All good feelings have flow. All negative feelings have collapse. So again, this is the second part that's really important. As the nervous system gets stimulated, it gets almost too stimulated to a point where that high energy will naturally collapse. And that is when it pulls into an anxiety attack. So if we are going to help deal with anxiety, two things need to happen. One, we got to get the stimulation down. Two, though, we also have to keep the energy that's happening inside of us focused out. As long as the energy is focused out on our show, on our game, we're good. But the minute the energy starts to overwhelm and starts to collapse inside, that's when it begins to become anxiety. So again, that is why we're looking at this generation as addicted to video games, addicted to Facebook, social media, because what that does is it takes that high energy, that's constant stimulation, but it focuses it outward. We're focused on this or that or whatever. And by focusing out on the games and the social media and everything that's going on, that anxiety is not necessarily, that high energy is not necessarily collapsing into anxiety. So here's my tips, my things that we got to remember to do. First, you can help yourself by allowing yourself to decompress. That's going to be hard for millennials because that is something that's just not part of who you are. Low energy feels boring. Low energy feels tired. Low energy feels empty. But we need those periods of low energy where we're sitting and we're not stimulated. We're not looking at screens. Maybe we're reading a book. We're allowing ourselves to calm and relax because that allows our nervous system to drop in numbers. Exercise is a great, super great tool for that because exercise, just by its very definition, particularly cardiovascular exercise, allows us to take this high energy. We're running, we're lifting weights, we're doing something really active, yoga, spin class. We're taking this high energy and we're putting it somewhere. And so by the end of the spin class, you're going to feel more calm and relaxed. Your anxiety is going to feel 10 times better because you took that high energy and you did something with it. You focused it out and you also were able to drop that energy. So exercise would be a huge key for your life. The second thing that I want you to think about doing, and maybe come up some ways that make sense to you to do, is you got to keep your energy focused out. That is another key difference between my generation, the baby boomers, and your generation, the millennials. Baby boomers just aren't that self-aware. We just really didn't even think of ourselves. Me? Feelings? What am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? I don't know. I just got to go to work. That's all I know. I got to go to work. And so us baby boomers were just working all the time. You know your parents, right? They're cleaning the house, or they're doing something. They're always working. My gosh, people. But millennials are more self-aware. Millennials, you guys have a better sense of self. You have a better sense of who you are, what you're feeling, what's going on. You have a better sense of you, which is both good and bad. Because it's that heightened sense of yourself that actually can add to the collapse. If I'm feeling high arousal as a baby boomer, and I go, I don't got time for that, delete, I got to go to work, and I keep my focus out, that energy doesn't collapse because my energy is just constantly focusing out. I'm not thinking about me. I don't want to think about me. But if I'm a millennial or somebody that has anxiety, like me, what will happen is that I'll start to feel that high arousal. I'll feel it like at a 7, and I know at 8 it goes off. So I'm like, oh, I feel this. Oh, crap. I'm going to have anxiety. That thought alone, boom, collapses my energy and sends me into anxiety. So sometimes self-awareness is a good thing, and sometimes self-awareness can be a bad thing if we are focused too much on ourselves, particularly negative feelings. They tend to collapse even more. So it's going to sound a little bit weird, but you got to distract yourself. You got to be aware of what's going on inside, but not so aware that you are collapsing yourself. I'm feeling weird. I'm feeling uncomfortable. I'm feeling some anxiety. I need to focus out. And that's what you kind of naturally do. How many of you will go jump on a video game? Or how many of you will binge watch a show when you're feeling anxiety? That is you trying to shift your focus outward. And that is good, but we tend to shift that into non-productive activities. Part of the key is not procrastinating. Part of the key is not working because I'm overwhelmed. Part of the key is, okay, I'm feeling this high level of energy. It's not good or bad. It's not negative. But I need to also keep my focus on whatever I'm doing, the tasks ahead, and allow myself to continue to focus outside of me, because it's that focusing outside of me that's going to help my flow and help keep the energy moving forward. We could talk about this all day. You know that, right? And I wish I could. And maybe I'll do a series just for anxiety millennials. But there are some tips right there that I think will get you started at least. If you want to know more, head over to Yoga Psych. And we'll see what we can do for you. All right? Again, I'm Brett, your favorite shrink, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Hey, I haven't told you yet, make sure you go to yogapsych.com, because that's where you're going to find these ancient answers for your current problems. Take care.